Hey Barry,
Hey Tony.
Jim, how you doing?
All right, thanks. You?
All right.
Hey, Tony and Jim.
Hey Bear.
So Kate tells me there's about 49 people in the waiting room.
Okay,
Holy cow.
so
It's 60 now.
just if someone okay. If someone wants to raise their hand, they have to hit the react button and then there should be a prompt for raise your hand, right? That's how Zoom works.
Yes, it actually says it. It's right almost down by the bottom of the box when
Yeah.
it opens up. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You just tell me when you'd like to start and I can kick it off.
I'm about to let everybody in. I don't see Jerry and Steve though.
All right, give it another minute. Jerry and Steve. Hopefully they join us. Best laid plans, right?
Always.
It's Steve.
Yes, Steve.
I'll text Jerry.
Should we begin and let everybody in?
Yeah, yeah, I would. Oh, he's in. Jerry's in.
I'm here.
All right. Are we ready to start? Hey, are we all set? I just want to make sure.
We should be, yes.
Okay. All right, welcome everyone. For those that do not know me, my name is Tony Papantonis. I'm the Board of Governors President. And on behalf of the Board of Governors, our trustees, Chiquesta Senior Management Team, the Herring River Finance and Membership Committees, I wanted to thank all of you for taking the time to attend this important meeting concerning the golf course project. As one can imagine, a significant amount of work has been performed over, it's got to be 15 years now, by many individuals who have volunteered their time to ensure that each of you can make an informed decision based on the information we will be providing. This afternoon, we're going to be presenting on the following topics, and I think we can go to the next screen. This is just a copy of the agenda. So we'll be talking about the club offerings and programs during the course closure, the golf course design and scope of work, safety and site logistics, a little bit of discussion about project schedule or timeline, project costs, grant funding and financial considerations, projected membership fees upon course reopening, and then there'll be time to answer all of your questions. The presentation is expected to take about 30 to 40 minutes. So for efficiency, what we're asking is that you hold your questions until the end of our presentation. Once the presentation is concluded, we'll take all questions and I will direct them to the appropriate person to respond. The way Zoom works, if you have a question on the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a reactions button. So click that button and then there'll be another button to select raise your hand. If you're in queue and the question that you had has been answered, you can click that reactions button and click lower your hand. So we'll try to track it as best we can and make sure everyone can answer the questions that they have. There are two motions on the table. One is the approval to proceed with the golf course mitigation and course reconstruction work as recommended and approved by the Board of Governors and Trustees. Assuming motion one passes, motion two would be approval to authorize the Board of Governors through recommendations of the Finance Committee to apply for and obtain a construction loan and/or withdraw necessary funds from the club's investment account to fund $3.6 million, which represents the project's estimated total cost of $10.4 million, less the approved grant funding of $6.815 million. The project's total cost includes all work for the course mitigation and reconstruction phases and projected closure costs. Again, just a reminder, all full and associate members are eligible to vote, and you can vote at any time during the meeting. Voting will be concluded a few minutes following the question and answer period, and we should have the results within minutes that we'll announce before we actually adjourn. Thanks again for your continued engagement, and we'll start with Barry talking about the Herring River Golf Course project, giving a quick overview of the scope.
Thank you, Tony. Welcome, everybody. Pretty important time for the club, and it's great that we've finally reached this milestone. I'm going to go through a couple of slides here for you to kind of give you a little idea of the project and a few points of what programs and what activities we'll be having here at the club. So this slide here talks a little bit about that the mitigation is important to help with the restoration of the Herring River. We know that there are water levels that will increase and they will affect our golf course in the future. So the raising of the golf course is really important. With the mitigation and the raised property, we'll be able to have a newly designed and updated golf course put on top, and the holes that are not directly affected by that would get what we call compatible work, which means greens and other areas of the hole will fit in with the same shape and feel of what we're trying to do with the holes that are being mitigated and then reconstructed. This should offer, especially on hole number 6, which we'll be featuring a little bit tonight, some beautiful views of the Mill Creek and even Herring River in certain parts up where the practice facility and the future driving range will be located. The practice area and driving range are part of the design and will be constructed as part of this project, and it will give us facilities that are not currently available on this part of the Outer Cape. So again, real great opportunity for the club to have these features and be able to provide them for members. This will enable us to play the golf course all year, all season. As many of you know, in the early spring and certainly at this time of the year, we tend to fill up with water, especially on hole 6, but 7 and 8 are becoming more of a problem. So this mitigation will resolve that and will give us full seasons to be able to play without these flooding issues going forward. So this newer facility that we're going to have, this new golf course and all these amenities, will allow us to be, a different project, a different property, and will provide features that aren't available on the Outer Cape here, and should allow us to be able to have new revenue streams that we don't currently have, as far as the amount of activity through the golf course and certainly the practice facilities. Kate, you can go to the next slide, please. So as we go through the club offerings and programs, as you know, seasonally, we have tennis, pickleball, we have clinics, regular play, and lessons that are available in that area. Those will continue during the reconstruction of the golf course. The Bayside Bar and Grill will be open. How we're going to operate Bayside is still to be determined by the Food and Beverage Committee, but we will have service throughout the season, and that's been an important part of our development here over the years. So we want to make sure that we continue to offer that nice level of service, and it will be available this coming season. Weddings and special events will also be available and run regularly down at the boathouse and in the clubhouse as needed. Programs, we're going to continue with the kids camp, full operation. We'll have to be a little clever on how we handle our golf elements, but we will provide that as part of the kids camp experience. We expect to have a full slate of social events, and hopefully more than what we offered this past year. Many of those events were extremely well attended, and we want to continue to grow that part of our club. Being social is what this is really all about, and having a good slate of events for folks to participate in during the reconstruction will be a very important piece of that. Beach club and other waterfront related things will be available during the reconstruction period. So many things will still remain as part of what we do here at the club. And this is only just a list to just, again, have everybody remember what we currently have and what we will have during the reconstruction. And there'll be other things that we'll add as those committees meet this coming winter and develop their full schedules. So at this point, I will turn it over to Jim Pellissier, who's going to take us through the golf course scope of work and into the design. Jim?
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Barry. And as you can see on the screen, this is a schematic of the layout of the redesigned golf hole per the design that's developed by Howard Maurer in collaboration with Charlie Pasios. This golf course design, by the way, was funded not by us, but through the Friends of Herring River. So it's an important, I think, perk to the project that we've been able to obtain. Very importantly, this design has been permitted by all the relevant bodies at the different levels and agencies of government, all the way from through state to federal government. And this is an invaluable thing to have that's going to run for the course of this project. There's two major phases to the scope of work, and they're enormously detailed, yet I'm going to go through them in a high level, and later you'll see a much more detailed timeline that comes as the project's talked about in terms of its timing. But there's a mitigation phase that's designed to elevate the golf course in its problematic low areas, and then a restoration phase, which is the finishing work across the golf course, new holes included. So if we could go to the next slide, please. The mitigation phase, although it's principally hole number 6 that people think about, we have actually 5 low holes, number 1, 6, 7, 8, and 9, all of which would be impacted greatly by the Herring River project as the estuary begins to fill. So the project in the mitigation phase seeks to elevate these holes a minimum elevation of 6.7 feet. So we're going to be moving almost 250,000 cubic yards of fill to raise these holes that amount. And this 6.7 feet is to get the holes to an elevation that's 2 feet above the average maximum that's been projected for the springtime maximum for this area once the Herring River gates are open. It involves a lot of work that's principally first the construction of the haul roads and the preparation of the site. There'll be tree removal. This is a time-sensitive operation that has to be done in a window of time in the winter because of environmental restrictions that involve bat nesting. And it also then involves a whole bunch of movement of fill for various reasons. So there's certainly the excavation and the transport, its placement and compaction. Preloading and surcharging is where we're going to be loading areas, and the surcharging is to put extra fill on these areas to accelerate the settling of the holes. And then finally, the grading of the fill as well into rough shape for the course. So if we could go to the next slide, please. The restoration phase is the actual building of holes. So the construction of new holes on the elevated grounds, and this is going to include the shaping of the holes to the contours we want, feature development, the implementation of cart paths, and certainly putting in tees and greens and letting and planting grass, and the building of bridges across where we still have water to cross. Non-mitigated holes, right? So these would be the higher holes, as Barry mentioned a moment ago, are also going to have work done on them to harmonize the golf course so that you won't be kind of seeing a new and an old section. And principally, we're going to get our greens consistent with one another. The practice area and the range are also going to be constructed at this time. And importantly, we're going to have new wells and a new course irrigation system, which we were going to need anyway, but this is going to be up to date and up to level and ready to go with this new design. And then the final phase of this restoration phase is to remove the haul roads and restore behind them as well to complete the project. So all that sounds like a lot of work, and it is, but there's going to be quite a yield. I'm going to turn this back to Barry, who will talk about some of the things that we anticipate we're going to see.
Thank you, Jim. So many folks have asked to see what the design could look like. So I thought it made sense to sort of feature our sixth hole, which, as many of you know, for quite a long time has been our trouble spot. And the slide you're looking at now kind of takes you through the teeing box on the left, the crossing there, and then the fairway, and then the green complex. And Kate, if you could advance to the next slide, please. So the next slide actually gives you a sample visual here with the illustration of what the tee box would be looking down into the fairway. And in the middle of the picture there, you can see a bridge crossing over onto the fairway. So it gives you a sense of just, you know, what this is going to look like once the hole is restored. And we're going to try to keep many of the same natural features that we have on the property today. This is the club is built on a dune, and we want to try to keep that natural sort of flavor to things. So this is an idea of what the tee box would look like leading down to the fairway. Kate, can you advance, please? Then that takes us down to the fairway view here, and you can sort of see, again, the fairway shaped and then the naturalized areas on either side of the fairway, including a bunker out there in the middle, sort of the middle section of the adjacent to the fairway there on the right-hand side. So it's going to give a nice playability. I would say it's hard to tell from this illustration here, but that fairway width in the center is probably going to be about 30 yards of width. And that total section of fairway will probably be approximately 100 to 120 to 130 yards in length, leading up to another crossover. And then next slide, Kate, to the green, which will be perched up on top of the hill. So if you can visualize with me, the current existing sixth green sits down at the end of the fairway. If you look up to your left on top of the hill there, that's the area where the green's going to sit up on top of. So your next shot would go up approximately 20 feet. Again, this is just rough. The actual height will be determined by the design and then when the actual green is created. But it's going to be a significant uphill to the green complex there. And then if you look in this illustration, if you look at the left-hand side, you'll notice there's tee boxes for hole number 7 just to the left side of the 7th green. While you're standing on the 6th green, you'll be able to see the Mill Creek to the left, and then further on, futuristically, when the salt marsh is fully restored, you should be able to see some of the Herring River from that view. So this wanted to give everybody a real sense of what the golf course is going to start to look like. So we thought the 6th hole illustration would be the right one to do that. And that would give you a sense of the playability of the hole. And I think the uniqueness of moving the green up on top of the hill truly gives us an amazing new complex and a 6th hole that will most likely become our signature hole in the golf course. So this was just an opportunity to show you the illustration and let you get a sense of it. So next I'm going to go into a little bit about safety and logistics during the reconstruction. So obviously we're going to have an active construction site, and the haul road for the property is going to be adjacent to the clubhouse, that roadway that leads us down to the pro shop and then the tennis and pickleball areas, and ultimately to where the golf course is. So it's going to be a closed construction site. The contractor will have the site. During the mitigation and the reconstruction work, this needs to be a closed area. We'll put up some fencing and we'll have the site closed. But the way we're going to configure the fencing with the contractor is so that there'll be an area where you can walk down between the construction fencing and the pro shop, down past the pro shop, and then continue on to the tennis and pickleball courts. But you'll be in a safe area protected by the perimeter fence. My expectation is once, and we'll be doing the majority of the load in of the heavy equipment will be happening during the winter months when things will be closed here. So once the big equipment actually gets on site and the hauling of the material really starts to happen, that equipment's going to stay on the site and it'll be there for the duration of the time it's needed. The real in and out that'll be taking place up the haul road on a daily basis will be of the contract workers coming in and out. So even during the summertime when we're open and we have activities going on, we'll have planned staff there, especially during peak hours when there's in and out, to make sure that there's pedestrian safety. The parking lot adjacent to the putting green will remain open during season, and it'll close during the off season so that the contractor can use it for any kind of parking needs they may have. We will create with the contractor a full safety plan. We will make it available through email, but also it'll be posted on our website. And I'll talk more about that particular page when we get to that point. But it'll be available for people to understand what the full plan is and how to engage with it. Once the contractor is fully engaged, the golf course will be closed completely for all play, the entire 9 holes. So the entire property back there will be closed. The maintenance staff will, once we close the golf course, will start their work of sort of breaking down the golf course. There's many things to do, things that we want to save off the golf course, things that need to be put away that are currently on the golf course. So our maintenance team will need time to be able to do that and store everything for the future. Notification will go out about the golf course and adjacent facilities. Those things will be posted on our website and also go out in mailings as need be. And again, just for safety and for the contractor to be able to move swiftly and efficiently through the project. Those areas will be closed to all non-essential employees and only the contract staff. So again, we have to keep this site secure for everybody's safety, but certainly so that the contractor can do their work and not have to worry about anybody out there on the property during this time. So that takes me on to project schedule, which is Tony.
Thanks. Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Jim. As you can see, we'll put together a schedule, and I'm not going to go through all the activities. I'll just speak to a few critical ones. One is actually tonight's membership vote. So with the assumption that the vote is approved, the next critical activity is it's item number 38, which is the executed grant agreement. And Jim and Jerry will talk a little bit more about the grant agreement, but conceptually it's been approved by the town of Wellfleet, and we're expecting to have a formal signed agreement by the trustees and the select board of the town of Wellfleet within the next couple of weeks. The schedule, the next page of this, it shows the timeline for the construction. And as was mentioned previously, the course, we're looking to start, I guess you'd call it readying the course, which will start middle of December, and then having the contract immobilized the week following January 1st. We did solicit 5 contractor bids, and the low pre-qualified bidder is telling us, and I do, you know, we've talked a little bit about schedule. So he's looking at having the mitigation phase, which again, as Jim discussed, raising the course elevations in certain areas by about 6.5 feet. That work will be complete, we're anticipating, by the end of June. And then the course reconstruction work would, there'd be a little bit of an overlap because one contract is doing both the mitigation and course reconstruction phase. So as they're working through certain portions of elevating the course, they'll be able to start shaping and drilling the wells and putting in significant drainage piping, fine grading, and shaping. We're building a pump house for our new irrigation pump, bridges, and so forth. So we're looking to have the course reconstruction substantially complete February of 27. So the whole schedule from start to finish is about 13 months. And then we've allocated 1 year or thereabouts to for the course to germinate. So that will be, we've anticipated beginning in February, which is not the greatest time for seasonal growth, but it'll go all the way through next April. So right now we're anticipating the course reopening beginning of April 2028. So that's the schedule in a nutshell. Just a couple of other things that we're doing. We've got a meeting again based on tonight's vote, tentatively set up with the contractor next week, and we hope to have the contract signed by early December. And this contract is ready to get going, right, like I said, right at the beginning of January. So I'll hand it over to Jerry to talk about the costs.
Thank you, Tony. As Tony indicated, the mitigation and reconstruction costs were based on receiving a number of independent bids. The low bidder, the one we chose, is also capable of doing both the mitigation and reconstruction, and has experience and capability in doing those. And because of that, and as Tony was indicating, they can do two things at once in some cases. We believe that we'll be able to reopen for regular operation of the Gulf in 2028. The costs that you see here, also the 10.4 million, include losses that we estimate will occur during the course closure. So the question becomes, how do we pay for that? As Jim and I think Tony indicated, we've received grants from the state and from the federal government that total 6.815 million, mostly aimed at the mitigation and work on those holes that are underwater. The grantors haven't been willing to revisit those amounts, but they're quite valuable. That's $6.8 million to fix our golf course. The grants expire in 2026 in the summer, so we have to begin the work now on the schedule that Tony indicated, or we lose those grants and with them the permits. And in addition, as was pointed out, we received a complete course design for nothing as part of this process. So that indicates a shortfall of almost 3.6 million. And the question becomes, how do we pay for that? Next slide, please. So many of you might remember that about 5 or 6 years ago, we were able to sell a lot of property for a profit of $4.5 million. And the board recognized at that time that funds would eventually be needed, likely be needed to do the full restoration, the full creation of a golf course beyond what we were going to receive from the Herring River grants that we just spoke about. So at that time, the board and the investment committee established restrictions on the use of the fund such that we've only been able to use the interest and dividends in the last several years, which we used to do some of the betterments you've seen around the clubhouse and the boathouse. And the current fund balance has grown to now being about 5.4 million. Next slide. So the finance committee, in looking at that and looking and thinking about what we need really as a safety fund for unknown catastrophes in the future, has voted to approve the golf course mitigation and reconstruction plan based on the assumption that, in fact, the club's portion won't exceed 3.6 million. The funding can be done entirely from the investment fund or can be partially financed and partially from the investment fund as we determine makes the most sense financially and from a safety perspective. And I think as we pointed out, we think the renovated golf course will generate significant revenue growth. The increased availability for play through the spring, the summer, and fall will enable us to, I think, increase public play and get higher rates for that public play. And we think we'll increase membership revenue. It's going to be a more attractive course if there's 9 playable holes rather than 5. And we think that the new amenities, the driving range, the practice range, which will really be just available to members, will enhance member value and attract new memberships. We've also stipulated that other capital expenditures really won't exceed 300,000, and that is primarily earmarked towards upgrades to the maintenance facility, which we've discussed in prior meetings as necessary. And finally, and next slide, if we could, the Finance Committee thought about the repercussions of not approving the plan and have concluded really that the failure to move forward with the project would have significant negative implications. Mostly the loss of that $6.8 million available to support the project would likely mean that the course will remain unmitigated and flooding will continue and in fact worsen more than likely. As Jim pointed out, we know already that there are increased maintenance costs, including, for example, the irrigation system, estimated to cost several $1 millions that are part of the reconstruction plan. If we don't approve this, we're still going to have to spend that money. And we lose the permits that enable us to do a lot of this work. And we believe we'd lose the opportunity to really create a top-notch golf course, 9-hole course on the Cape. So the Finance Committee and the Board of Governors have agreed and voted that we move forward on these projects. And I'll turn this over to Steve to talk a little bit about what membership rates would look like.
Thanks, Jerry. So what we're showing up here, it's not all of the memberships, but the ones that are relevant, we think, for this conversation, full and associate memberships, as well as racket and social memberships. The left column is the actual membership rates for 2025. Ones that are kind of whited out there, the rackets, couple, and social family are ones that didn't really exist, but we want to have them going forward because it then meshes with as we move forward into 2028 with the golf. And the same thing with 26 and 27. You'll see that those are not really existing rates. 2026, the rates are up about 5% from 2025 across the board. And we just kind of projected that again for 2027, but that is a projection only. It's nothing's been finalized for 2027. We'll see as we get closer what we're going to do there. But the idea is that we're not going to be looking for huge increases in the racket and social to pay for the bulk of the golf course. It's we're looking at more inflationary changes there. So we get to 2028, and what we think we're going to need is about a 25% increase over 2025 for a golf membership, and that's what you're seeing here. So a full family goes from 3175 to 3965, and that's pretty much true across the board. We also, for new members, are expecting to collect an initiation fee, which is equal to 75% of the annual fee. Now, the good news is if you maintain membership in 26 and 27, then there is no initiation fee. We felt very strongly we're going to need to get more income to help pay for this golf course, which we think it's going to be well worth it. But we also want to reward members who stay with us, and really display loyalty, and so we're going to try and help out there. One other thing I would say is if you know anybody who is not a member but is interested in becoming a member, 2026 might be a very good year to kind of dip their toes in. If we can go to the next slide, I've just got some examples here of what the costs are. And I'll start with the full family. If you're full family, brand new member in 2028, you're going to pay the $39.65 membership fee, a projected $29.74 initiation fee for a total of $6,939, and that's a one-time initiation fee. If you are a social member in 26 and 27, you're going to pay that same $39.65. Plus, you'll pay a $945 and a $995 for the 26 and 27 years for family social membership. So your total cost is $5,905, which is $1,000 less than if you weren't a member in 26 and 27, but became a member in 2028. So again, trying to reward people for hanging in with us while the course is closed. And same thing, racket member, a little bit more expensive, so you don't save as much by not having an initiation fee, but it's still substantial, $679 for a full family. Likewise, individuals, maybe not as much for racket, But again, it's the same idea. You're going to save money, and the thing is, you get the privilege of being a member for these couple of years. So, um, any events at the club, you're still part of that. Couples membership, same thing. And I think I have not been been playing racket sports at all, but I may have to try that next year while the course is closed. So I'm thinking we may get a couples uh, bracket membership for next year instead of just a social membership. But again, over 3 years, you're going to pay less money by sticking with us in some form of membership than if you leave and decide you want to come back in 2028. And I think that covers it.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to jump in to start here as we go into our Q&A section. As you can see by the box located in the Q&A screen, if you're interested, if you go down to, as Tony mentioned, if you go down to the reaction button down there, you'll see this, and you'll see the option to raise your hand, and you can do so now, and we'll start fielding those questions. I had one up front that I just wanted to react to. There was a question that came about the contractor, and our contractor is Turco Golf of New Jersey. That's who we're working with to go to contract with. They've done many projects throughout the Northeast. They're based in New Jersey, as I mentioned. Most recently, they did the golf course construction at Bayberry Hills in Yarmouth. They also did a pretty significant project in the Bronx at a golf course called Marshalloo Golf Course that included quite a bit of earthwork, and did a really successful job there. We did talk to representatives of those projects just to get a sense of their ability to handle a project, and it was very positive. So, and I know that Tony Papantonis had been speaking with them, and being in that industry, he was able to get a real good feel for exactly what they'd be able to do for us, and we believe that they'll be a good fit for the club. So that's who the contractor is, Turco Golf out of New Jersey. So now we're going to go to questions. So what we'll do is when your name is called, you'll be able to unmute and you can ask your question, and then Tony will direct it to the correct representative from our team. And first up is Sharon Fay.
Hi, first let me thank everyone for all the work that went into this, and also putting it into such a clear presentation format is really helpful. Just one question I have is how the grant funding works in terms of when the club needs to outlay cash and when they get reimbursed, and whether or not some kind of line or credit or something like that is necessary during the funding phase.
Jim or Jerry, do you want to take this?
No, I'm happy to. The grant money, right, and it's really coming to us via the town of Wellfleet, is first, and it's real important, is explicitly for the mitigation. And so the mitigation phase is the time period through which we're going to be doing the work that earns the grant money. The grant money for construction, so for any contractor and contractor work that is going on site, that's going to be filed with the town, and then those requests for funding are going to come right through the town real time. I guess it's about a 30-day period from the town to respond to the invoices that are being sent to them for the contractors. At the same time, we're providing the fill for the project, and we're going to get funding for the fill. So that's actually going to be a revenue stream for us. Because the exact amount of the fill is not finalized, like the way things work with these grants is you can't strike a price that's the final price for a content ahead of time, but you can have a working price. So the way that we've made the arrangement is that we're going to receive 50% on the estimated amount of fill, and the remainder price on the difference between the contractor's bid and what we have with the $6.815 million. We're going to get 50% in the same invoicing kind of process on each yard that's moved. At the end, as the dust settles, no pun intended, then the remainder of the fill money that cashes us out to get to $6.815 million will be received at the end of the project once the contractors have been paid.
That's good. I mean, it means that the town's really the cash flow.
Exactly right.
source. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
and the agreement we have with the town details this arrangement with them and how things are going to be checked and how this process is going to go down.
Just one point of clarification, Jim. It's really, we'll get the balance of the fill funding once the mitigation phase is complete,
That's
not
correct.
the project. So in reality, looking at the schedule, we should be done with the mitigation phase by the end of June, which really means we'll get funded for the balance of the fill by the end of July.
Yeah, that's important. Project there, I was talking about the mitigation, so perfect. Yeah.
I think the next question is Phil Kramer.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this, everybody. Two quick questions. One is this a fixed price contract with a contractor or some other arrangement? And so that's the first question. And the second question is there a risk of any government agency pulling the funds from us?
I can answer the first question. So the first question is it a fixed price? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
It's not only a fixed price, but we are going to ask for a payment and performance bond as well. So there'll be a guarantee to that price. Obviously, if there's unforeseen conditions and change orders, that obviously is a separate category. But we do have in the project costs that Jerry talked about, we have included about a $500,000 contingency with those costs. So we have some contingency for the project.
Excellent. Thank you. And
And
how about the risk from the government agencies killing these big grants?
Jim?
Well, I think that we have the same kind of risk that anyone in this unknown realm, in this unknown time has. And so there's no guarantee against that happening. The good news is that the Herring River project, through all the turmoil to date, has continued to not only receive their funds, but is continuing to actually get some more as well to supplement. That being said, we don't know. And so we do have an exposure during this time where we're not yet paid. And again, as we discuss this, and as you can imagine, it was discussed very heavily, it's in the whole project's interest to get this work done as rapidly as possible. So I don't have an answer about a percentage of risk, but we recognize that these are the times.
No, that's super. Thank you. Thanks again.
I have one other question I'm just gonna, and then I'll go to the next person. A question came up about afternoon golf membership in 2028. So the membership committee will be reviewing the types of membership that we'll have when we reopen the golf course in 2028. So I think we're looking at all the membership options that we currently have, and those decisions will be made as we are in setting up everything for 2027 for the release of what'll be our membership rates during that. Next up was Barry Tripp.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, Barry. Great presentation. I love the depictions of the sixth hole there. That's great. My question comes around the schedule. You may have said it and I might have missed it, but is that schedule the club schedule or is that the contractor's schedule? Or is it being worked into the contract?
Yes, that's a good question. Uh, so my company, Reconstruction, was involved with the bid process, and throughout the process, we did get schedules. They were just very plain vanilla. So what I've done is I've taken the information that I've received from Turco Golf and kind of formulated it into hitting the milestones. Well, I wanted to make sure it was realistic. Um, so the schedule that you saw is something that I put together, but it is inconsistent with what Turco is telling us. So when we meet on the 11th, um, they will come prepared with a more detailed schedule than what we've received to date.
Oh, okay. And then just part two to that's great. I think you need a schedule like that for a project like this. Part two is that schedule going to be statused on a regular basis for the club members to kind of take a peek at?
Yeah, so in the contract, we require that the contractor provides us an update every month.
Okay.
And obviously there's language if they start to fall behind, then we get an accelerated, schedule and so forth. But you'll see an update on a monthly basis. The membership will see an update monthly.
Okay, and great. And we get to watch the grass grow for a whole year.
Yes, that's super exciting. Yep, we're gonna have drinking parties, part of the social events. We'll sit there in our lawn chairs, drinking beers and watching the grass grow. I'm looking forward to that part of the
Great.
schedule.
Great, thank you.
Next up, we have Phil Penza.
Hear Yes. I only have one question. It's just a clarification. I don't play pickleball. I don't play tennis. I just play golf and use the social. My question is, if I just get a social membership, does that hold my golf membership?
Steve?
Yes, if
Okay.
you get any kind of membership,
Okay. So good. That's all I need to know.
you would not have to pay the initiation fee.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Next up, we have Laura Douglas.
It's you, Steve.
Thanks, Barry. It's Steve Douglas, actually. Great presentation, guys. I understand about the performance bond protecting costs, but what about if the contractor falls behind such that the mitigation's not complete by the deadline? Would there be any liquidated damages to reimburse us for the lost grant funds?
Yeah, again, it's all part of the contracts. So there are in the contract is baked in for liquidated damages that start at so much per dollars per day damage, and then they increase if beyond 60 days late. So there'll be an increase. So there is provisions in the contract to account for that. Now, that said, I've got a 13, 14-month schedule. Turco is publicly has told me that he expects to be done in 12 months. So within this schedule, I've built in, a couple months of contingency. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when does the grant funding expire compared to their completion date?
What they've told us is the grant funding expires in June, but there are provisions with our agreement with the town of Wellfleet to ask for an extension if need be. So,
Oh, good.
yeah. So right now, the grant funding, it's real critical that we're done with the mitigation phase, sometime in June. That's really the critical point for grant funding. And then, but if things are pushed, we do have a provision to get the grants extended.
Thank you.
Currently, we don't have any other questions. We'll give it another minute or two in case somebody thinks of something. But just a couple of other things to point out that the committee really put together a lot of this work. The Herring River Committee, Jim Pellissier, Carl Trishman, and then Chris Chadbourne, myself, and many others that were behind the scenes, also from the Finance Committee and certainly the board and the Executive Committee. So a lot of folks really pulled together here for the project, and just wanted to make note of that this was a real collaborative effort. And even outside the club, our attorney worked very hard with the town's attorney to make sure the agreement was the right agreement for everybody. And these were all important things that had to happen to get us to this point. And again, as you look at the design here on the screen, being able to have a brand new golf course taking us into the new century. Many of you know that the club has the centennial in 2029. So in 2028, we can do a practice round, and then in 2029, we can really kick up our heels and celebrate the club and its new position in the next 100 years. So if you haven't voted yet, we give you an opportunity to do that. And I think we're probably going to give it about 5 more minutes, and then once we get to that point, so that'd be 6 o'clock, we'll close off the voting, and then we should be able to tabulate and get announcements relatively quickly. So that's sort of the plan at this point. Tony, I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to represent from the club.
Yeah, just Kate, you may want to just explain, if people are on, how they can cast their vote if they're online at this point. Just go through it real quickly. You know, you're on this screen, so do you have to? I'm assuming you don't have to log off. You just.
Yes, thank you so much. So if anybody can scan the QR code that is listed on the presentation right now, if you want to vote using your smartphone, or if you want just to follow the link that's left in the comments right now, it's pretty much the same link that was used for the early voting. So if you have already voted, you don't have to do it again. We're just collecting any input from the full and associate members right now. And again, if you have a couple of minutes to do that and really go over all the questions listed there, that would be greatly appreciated.
Maura, do you have a question? Maura Donahue. Oh.
Yes, I was curious. There were talks about trying to get golf tournaments going elsewhere a couple of times a year. Is that still underway, or is that dead in the water? Reciprocity, something going on with some of the leagues?
Barry, you want to take that one?
Yes. Yeah. So we were trying to focus, especially Herring River, and now the Herring River Committee and the Golf Committee can actually explore ways that we might be able to help assist with golfing during the reconstruction. We've made some initial inroads on that, but nothing to report at the moment. But we're going to try to see if there isn't something we could do to help out our golfing members, the club members, to try to find some golfing opportunities there.
John or Stephanie Sullivan, question? You're on mute. John, if you can hear me, you're muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So my question is on the opening of the course. So it's really one growing season, and I assume that you're seeding and not sodding the fairways.
Yeah, right now we're seeding. So, I know that there's questions, and that's a good point. I mean, knowing
That's
yeah,
really,
knowing
yeah.
it's aggressive, but we're hoping to get as Turco is completing the course, we hope that he's seeding sooner than what I've shown in the schedule. Now the Cape weather is is warmer, a little bit warmer climate than what maybe you and I used to here in the Boston area. But yeah, no, that's we're hoping to, expedite as he finishes the holes to get things seated. If we can't, and depending on our cost to date, we may have to, you don't want to do it, but may have to sod certain areas as well. So it's a little bit.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, we did too. In response to that, we just Barry and I just had a conversation with Howard Maurer and Charlie Passios to talk about elements of the design and aspects of the schedule. And one of the questions they posed to us was, do we intend to open in 27, even in the and we said we are planning around closing for 2 seasons, and they were said that's perfect. They were very comfortable with that. A little relieved that we weren't going to be trying to push it to be trying to open sooner than what we've articulated, and they didn't sound at all plussed about this schedule with the course growing in, because again, it's not 100% linear. Grass is going to be planted across areas, as those particular holes are mitigated and then shaped, et cetera. So there's going to be elements that are being done in parallel, where there's still mitigation work completed, and maybe some of the early shaping and aspects of the restoration work. So hopefully that's helpful.
It is, but I watched a course that we belong to go through this on just a driving range, and they opened too early. They opened a year after they did it, and it was only a driving range, and it was a slight disaster, and they had to close, and they had to give it another season to fill in. So my only point is that it's a lot of money and a lot of work and a lot of effort that's going into this. And as much as everybody wants to run out there in the beginning of 28 to golf, if the course isn't really ready, you might do more harm than good by holding off for a few extra months, because according to the schedule, they're going to start seeding in, January, February. So it's really not going to grow until that year, and then you want to open up the following year. It's really only one season of growing for seed. So it's just a cautionary note, I don't know, maybe it grows way faster on the Cape than anywhere else around, but I just hope that we, in our exuberance, don't damage what's going to take a lot of money and time and effort to do.
We don't want to ruin a new thing before it's a thing.
Before it's a thing, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, we're not going to open up the floodgates if the course isn't ready. So, we'll have to monitor it, and we'll let our Barry and his team determine what's the appropriate time to open. And we may, at the beginning, depending on how things look, just open it up like a soft opening. We'll just have to measure it and see how it is. But I mean, it's tough to really calibrate the growing season, but we'll just see how it all comes in and take it from there.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, question? Chris Papantonis.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So my question is I'm more looking at Turco, who is obviously critical to this, and I want to know more about them, and I want to know, what is their background with golf course reconstruction, and just a little bit about them, because obviously they are make or break this whole thing, aside from the funding. Schedules everything, and I just want to know who they are, and that's all.
All right, Barry, why don't you just go through that? You're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Yep, Turco Golf out of New Jersey. Turco Golf has done many projects throughout the Northeast. They most recently did Bayberry Hills in Yarmouth, which was they had to basically build 9 holes. They built an entire golf course. They did it on top of a landfill, so it was a particularly challenging because they had to move earth as well as create something that wasn't there. So greens, tees, they did that off of a design, of course. And then there was a growing period in that golf course. I believe I could check on the actual time period, but I believe they worked on a similar schedule of time as what we're doing. And Turco did the entire thing from moving of the earth material on top of the golf course to creating all of the features and then grassing and finishing up. And that golf course was open for the entire season this year, which was after approximately a year growing. But again, I'll get all those details. So they've done a similar project right here on the Cape and many other earth moving work to golf courses in and around the New York and New Jersey area.
Do you guys know if there's been any, filings against them or, if there's been like just kind of what their background history is in terms of maybe not meeting schedule and any litigations?
So it's part of the bid process. We took it upon ourselves to send out a pre-qualification form to all the bidders. And then we went through checking their references, looking at their financial, what they provided us in terms of experience, size of coursework that they've completed. So we've done our due diligence. Like I said, they are going to provide a guarantee bond for performance and payment. So obviously they've got financial capacity to do that. But in conversations with Turco, the president, they seem to be the real deal. They are the real deal. They've done a lot of work in the Northeast, and they've got, we're fortunate because there's a slot that's open for them, and so they're looking forward to getting started. That was the other concern we had is, we need someone that can really start, right away, which they're receptive to do. So we've done as much due diligence as we can, and we're comfortable with them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Barry or Kate, do we have a tabulation yet?
Yes, I sent them to you, Tony.
Oh, you
They're
did?
on your phone. Yep.
Oh.
While you're getting that, I just quickly let folks know we are going to develop a web page on the club's website dedicated specifically to everything to do with this project. This meeting has been recorded, so it'll be listed on there, as will any other things that we do along the way. We hope to do some drone footage as the project is underway, so folks will be able to see some of the work that's going on beyond the clubhouse, which on hole 6, 7, and 8, and some other types of things that we can put up there to give folks a sense of where we're at. I think somebody had mentioned the schedule. We'll work on developing something that'll share that as well. So there'll be a webpage. It'll be on the ChequasetClub.com website, specifically dedicated to this.
All right, so the votes in, and motion 1, there were 112 yes votes and 3 no votes. In motion 2, there were 111 yes votes and 4 no votes. So the motions 1 and 2 passed overwhelmingly. I just before we close, I just want to recognize everyone on the board. I also want to thank Kate Carrier and Barry for putting together this presentation, the graphics and so forth. Kate did a great job setting up the the email, sent it out, and did a lot of work on the graphics here that you saw today. So on the board, I just want to mention Shay Kinney, Chris Durbin, Kyle Trishman, Stephanie Sullivan, Gail Fee, Laura Douglas, Jerry Cohen, Tony Antonellis, Ginny Palazzo, Steve Albee, and Jim Pellisier. the board worked, I'd say since I've been on the board, for 3 years, we've worked pretty tirelessly on that. In addition, Barry already mentioned the Herring River Committee with Chris Chadbourne, Jim Pellisier, Carl Shea, and Tony Antonellis. And then again, certainly not least, our trustees, Alan Oxman, Eleanor Livingston, and Gary Carter. So just want to thank everyone and appreciate everyone's effort and commitment, and we'll see what happens. No other questions or comments? We can adjourn the meeting. All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.